Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before I say a word, I would like to draw your attention towards a few images, and I would like you to take a guess where and when they're from. Yes, as some of you might have guessed already, this was the Afghanistan of 40 to 50 to 60 years ago, when it was ahead of so many of its neighboring countries and even some parts of the Western world when it came to human and women's rights. But then, unfortunately, we were hit by extremism, backward thinking, war, misery, and terrorism. As a result of which, millions of Afghans had to flee the country, and that included my family and I. We first had to go to Pakistan, and from there, believe it or not, I was smuggled out of the country to Switzerland when I was only 12 years old. Our refugee case was rejected in Switzerland, so we came to England, where they gave us a beautiful home and an opportunity to grow. After finishing my studies, I decided to pursue a career in music. But even then, I never thought that someday I would return to Afghanistan, and that too as a female artist. What actually opened my mind towards taking such an unbelievable step was the progress and the change being made inside Afghanistan by the presence of NATO and the fact that the world was finally paying attention towards Afghanistan. So I took my first trip back to Afghanistan in 2010. And on my way back to Afghanistan, I have to be honest, I was very nervous and I was quite scared as well. And when I got there, I was suddenly so heartbroken and so sad because of all the poverty and the misery and the sadness around me. However, after performing my first concert in the city of Kabul, I felt and experienced something very amazing. I felt joy, I experienced happiness and positive energy and hope. And that made me realize something so important. It made me realize that with what I do, I can actually leave an impact there, and I can inspire and give hope to a nation that was in need of it. So I decided to stay in Afghanistan, and I started performing major concerts in different parts of the country, including 3 major concerts in Bamyan. And I performed right in front of the Buddha statue. Yes, the very same Buddha statue that was destroyed by Taliban not so long ago. And these concerts were attended by up to 20,000 people each, which, to be honest, still feels like a dream to me. I performed concerts for fundraising. I performed concerts that were attended by women only. And I tried to give hope wherever I went. One of the major challenges I took upon myself was to perform in the heart of Kabul city at a football stadium, where Taliban used to openly execute women by shooting them in the head in the crowds. It's interesting to see a nightmare turned into hope in the same place. And of course, all these performances would not have been possible without the major security and partial peace of mind provided by the Afghan forces, who were actually trained and supported by NATO. To share some of my personal experiences in regards to or related to improvements in the lives of Afghan women. And don't get me wrong, there's still a lot that needs to be done in that country. But when I went to Afghanistan first time in 2010, and whenever I looked outside my window and if I saw 100 people out there, for example, only maybe 3 or 4 of them would have been women. If I look outside today, out of those 100 people, at least 30 to 40 of them are women. Women today have the chance to study. They are working, they're becoming politicians, they're becoming doctors, teachers, and they're even joining the armed forces. And to me, I personally think that these were the first and initial steps that had to be taken for Afghan women to finally have hope for a normal life. Now, I know, ladies and gentlemen, that there are discussions about the international community to walk away and leave Afghanistan, or to potentially reach a deal or a compromise with Taliban. Even though I personally support peace like everyone else does here, but I do not want us to or risk the rights of Afghan women or all those achievements or the progress that has been made in that country for the past 20 years. I would like to show you a few more images of the changes and the progress that has been made in Afghanistan. For example, this image that you see, this is actually Kabul city during the Civil War, which is approximately about 25 to 30 years ago. And so is this one, completely destroyed. This is the very historic and famous Dar al-Aman Palace, which was made by King Amanullah Khan, and this was the state of it during the Civil War. This, of course, is the brutal rule of Taliban when they openly beat up, punish, and execute women. And of course, the very sad and unforgettable moment that was seen and heard around the world. This is the same Kabul city today, and you saw the same Kabul city which was from 30 years ago, and it's rebuilt. It may not be as beautiful as London or New York or Paris, but this is the Afghanistan today. And this is the same palace, and I personally think that this is a sign of hope and a rebuilt Afghanistan. And this progress has not just been made in Kabul city, but in the other cities as well, like Mazar, Herat, my personal favorite city, Bamyan, Kandahar. Believe it or not, this is Kandahar, where it used to be the hometown of Taliban. And so is this one. Now, let me repeat again. If you leave and walk away from Afghanistan, I think that Afghanistan will return to civil war, where all those warlords are waiting to start attacking and fighting each other for money and for power. And they will not care about all those millions of innocent souls and lives that will be lost in the process. And Afghanistan will yet again go back to being the home of terrorism. And before I wrap up my story, I would like to take a moment and express my utmost appreciation. I want to express my sincere condolences to all those NATO families who lost their loved ones while serving in Afghanistan. But I want you to know that your sacrifices did not go in vain. That the future generations of Afghanistan finally have hope for a better tomorrow. And with the last image, to wrap up my story, I would like to tell you that if you forget and walk away and leave Afghanistan, you will be risking the lives and the future of these beautiful children. Thank you for your attention. I'm Aryana, and I represent today's Afghanistan. Thank you.